A cross-party group of MPs which examines government spending says only a fraction of the money meant for levelling up has been spent. The ministers can't provide a compelling example of what the scheme has actually delivered. Well, let's talk live now to Sarah Owen, who's a Labour MP and a member of that Public Accounts Committee. Sarah, welcome here to the programme. The committee said they were astonished by these findings. Just tell me why you were so surprised in terms of what you discovered here.
Good evening. And yes, there were quite a few open mouths throughout the evidence sessions around levelling up, because given this was the government's supposed flagship policy, to hear that less than 10% of the funds have actually left the department's front door, and to find out that projects were underway were actually just feasibility studies is pretty shocking. And it's a shocking use of public finances at a time when local government is crying out for that.
71 projects, though, were supposed to be shovel ready. So what has been the delay? What is the hold up here?
We did question them about the delays on the shovel readiness of the projects. They had unforeseeable delays, they said, around planning permission, which we all pushed back and said should have been picked up at the application stage. But of course, as well, since then, we've had Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng and the economic decisions that they took, which meant that building costs were a lot higher, and as was borrowing. So that has affected some of the issues that we saw with projects going forward. But actually, it's not an excuse further down the line either.
Reading the details, a tenth of the £10.5 billion has been spent, only a third handed out. I know your committee asked Michael Gove and the department to just bring forward examples of what they'd done and how they'd done it. What did they actually produce?
They came forward with a handful of examples. I think choirs and very small projects in local areas, and they will have impacts within that local community. But there was no conversation as to whether that's exactly what the communities themselves wanted or would have prioritised. And at the time when public finances are so stretched, when we had local authorities really stretched, probably around £30,000 each, trying to put these bids in for levelling up bids, and actually not always being successful, whether that was a useful way to spend public money.
And of course, during the delays, we've had high inflation, so it's meant the costs have also gone up for some of these projects. A final thought, because as you said right at the start, this was supposed to be an absolutely central plank of Conservative policy. You know, over the years, we've had things like the big society idea. They almost turned out to be not much more than catchphrases. Is the fear that it is a similar thing here?
I think what we heard in terms of the evidence at the committee given to us and the written evidence, it shows the proof's in the pudding. Have we seen any of these projects? Do we know whether any of these projects have actually made a positive influence to the local areas? Has it done what it said? In terms of regional inequality, we're still seeing that increase. In terms of some of those projects that were promised, people are still waiting. So I think in terms of whether levelling up has been a success or not, so far, the report shows no.